FilmCrazyAdam here. I'm about to head off to go see Jurassic World, aka Jurassic Park 4. Which is something I never really thought I would say, because you kind of figured that movie franchise ended in a trilogy with the third one, and by ended, I guess I kind of mean it kind of whimpered to a close, kind of kept going like downhill and then farted out at the end. I think everyone agrees that Jurassic Park 3 was kind of like, why did you guys do that? Or at the very least, why did you have such a lame story going into it? Alright. I think I'm gonna... well, depending on how this movie works out, I think I might address some things in Jurassic Park 3 that I'd like to address, as well as the other movies. Anyway, you know what? I'm actually looking forward to this. I've seen the trailers. They seem interesting enough. I'm a little... it seems interesting enough. I was about to nitpick about this. Like, they invented a dinosaur. They added 2 or 3 things together and they made a new species? What? Though, at the same time, how can you be questioning that when the entire series is predicated on we just made test tube dinosaurs using 8 billion-year-old, well, more like 65 million-year-old DNA found inside mosquitoes, inside amber, while, you know, a quaint and clever and novel idea back in 1990 when Michael Crichton wrote his book, and 93 when the first movie came out, which, by the way, I remember seeing that movie in theaters. Yes. My dad took me and my brother out on Father's Day weekend. I think I looked it up. I think it was like June 11th, 1993. But yeah, I saw the first movie in theaters, and so this is kind of a... I'm looking forward to this because I'm a little bit of a callback to my childhood. So yeah, I'm hoping to kind of get the same awe and wonder, and you know, if they keep John Williams' original score. That score was magical. I mean, John Williams is an orchestrating god. He's magnificent. Name one movie score that he's done that sucks. You can't. You just can't. All, the themes of Star Wars, the soundtrack to the original Superman, Jurassic Park. Name one movie that John Williams didn't make a good score for. Just that music though is very... It's very gentle and very flowing, and like it builds, and it's just a good theme. So as long as they keep the music, I'm expecting to get the same nostalgic, almost euphoric sense of wonder and, you know, childhood innocence, and enjoying it for what it is. So let's see, the story. Okay, yeah. So I'm expecting good things. I'm expecting to like it. I'm hoping. Well, no, I'm hoping to like it. I want to like it, but. You know, we'll see how it goes. It seemed, based on the trailers, this seems like they're just going to make one mistake after another, and it's going to be a chain reaction, and it'll be a bad day for everybody. But you know what? Enough of that. I'm expecting to like it. I'm hoping to like it, and now I'm going to go see it. All right, laters. All right, just got back. I liked it. I like this movie. Oh my God. This movie, in many ways, it was nostalgic. It was they kept the music. It was so much a throwback, it kind of put me back into that when I was a kid. In 93, the sequel was late 90s, like 97 or something. And then when the third one came out, the third one, like I said, the entire franchise was kind of doing that. But it put me back there in like in the first movie, and yeah, it put me back there in the first movie because, let's think about the second 2 movies. The second one happens on a different island. Well, actually, the second and the third one both happen on the same... they both happen on the same island. Isla Sorna, I think. Because Isla Nublar is the one where the first island is, and then Site B, where they grow the animals and then transport them to the island, that's Isla Sorna, I think. And in both those cases, you were in both those cases, when you went in Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, it was an abandoned island. You know, it was an operating facility, but when they pulled out, they just left everything and walked away. And so, like, the jungle overtook, and, like, you know, things didn't work as much, or yeah, things don't work, and, like, you know, there's grime and broken windows and decomposed. You know, it's an abandoned building. It's an abandoned island. So it was actually really cool. It felt like going back. It had the nostalgia of the first movie, because we're not going to an abandoned island where people just up and ran and, you know, just let everything go in the wild and everything's running around unchecked and you could be attacked by velociraptors or T-Rex anywhere and no building is secure and there's no fences. In this one, it's a fully functioning park. It's up and running. Here we are in business. So, you know, it's not mass. You don't have this sense of fear the entire time that something could come and get you. In this movie, at least when it starts out, you get the relative safety and feeling of safety and security that everything's under control. And that was the point of the first movie and the first book, is that nothing is ever really under your control. Like, you can try, but ultimately, us humans, we can't control forces of nature. It just ain't gonna happen. We can protect ourselves and put ourselves safe, but to try and actually control and work the world, it's never gonna be, it's never gonna happen. But so, it was good. Like, this movie was good because it felt nostalgic. The action was, the story moved. It never lulled. There was never any downtime really in this movie. Things were constantly moving. Other scenes obviously more action-packed than the other, but it was always, we're going here, we're moving, but not feeling rushed. So, I like this movie. I recommend you go see it, especially if you're a fan of the first movie or even the first trilogy. Go see it. You'll enjoy it, for the most part. And I say for the most part because I liked it. That being said, there are so many freaking plot holes in this movie. Oh my god! Wow! There are less holes in, like, fishnet stockings than there were in this movie. Wow! And I'm not talking about the fact that the dinosaur, the big bad dinosaur, the Indominus Rex, I don't have a problem with him. The fact that they took, I thought it was only like a few things. No, they took not just dinosaurs, but tree frogs, cuttlefish, I don't know what else, but they put like 8 things into a blender. 8 things DNA into a blender. They spun it up, you know, shook it up, poured it in a glass, poured some fish food on top, put it in a microwave, and let it cook, and then put the embryo in an egg. I have no problem that this thing has camouflage like a chameleon. I'm not kidding about that. I have no problem that this thing, this giant lizard, can just turn off its heat and mask itself from thermal sensors. Again, no problem with that. I also don't have a problem with the fact that despite it being isolated from all animals all its life, it instantly can talk to other dinosaurs. It instantly picks up their language and starts talking to them. I mean, I can barely do that with other people who speak English when I arrive at one of my stops. When I walk up, I'm like, hey, where am I supposed to go? Oh, I want to get a delivery? What? So, that's not what I have a problem with. I have things that are much more glaring. So glaring, in fact, that when I go to movies with my friends tend to, unless it's a big movie that we know we all want to see in a group, like Jurassic World, like Avengers, they'll let me go to movies on my own. Only one friend goes to movies with me because she and I will not converse, but we'll make jokes and point stuff out in the movie. No, the rest of my friends that actually get mad at me when I do my review thing in the theater, even they were like, dude, did you see that? What the hell? I'm like, yeah, I saw that. How did they miss that? There are so many plot holes in this movie. That said, I still liked it. I'm gonna go see it again with my other friend, the one that likes to compare notes during movies. So, if you like the first one, if you like the concept, go see it. If you like Star-Lord, go see it. This movie was a fun ride, but my God, were there so many plot holes. Wow. If this movie wasn't the fourth one in a series of movies I liked, I would have to, like, I can't say that this was a good movie. Again, I'm not arguing about the DNA concept, because that's the entire theory that the series is predicated on, that we can just make things out. If we have something's DNA, we can just make it. We just, you know, throw it in an easy bake oven and boom, you got a dinosaur. We're rolling with it. That is a hard and fast truth in this world, that we can just make shit up. That's fine. No problem with that. The problem I have with this movie are the super glaring plot holes. Secondly, my problem with this movie, aside from Star-Lord, I hate all the characters. I hate them all. Because every one of them, except for the black guy. The black guy that works with Star-Lord is the only one, because he's on the same page as Star-Lord. And so, he's the only one that I'm glad that he did not die. Spoiler alert. Sorry about that. But every other character is either a bastard, they're all villain. They're an idiot. No, they're all idiots, but they're either a bastard or an idiot. They're just... I've seen horror movies. I've seen slasher movies with college bros who were smarter than these people, okay? These people are the biggest dumb of effing morons I've ever seen in a movie. I'm trying to think. Have I met dumber people in a movie? Like people that you throw empirical, physical evidence in front of them and they just go, nope, that's not how it works. Nope, that's not real. Nope, we're still not doing that. Ah! Ah! My one friend turned around, he's yelling at me at that point. I'm like, what are you doing? Shh, sorry. Oh, man. Alright, let's, I've already given my seal of approval. I recommend this movie. I'm gonna go see it again, and I'll buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray or DVD. You know, that's a guarantee at this point. It was much better than a third movie. I mean, that third movie was... Sam Neill made it watchable, and that was it. Kind of like Tomorrowland, where that movie was utter horseshit too. Oh my God, was Tomorrowland bad? But George Clooney made it watchable. You know, George Clooney. Go see that movie just because of George Clooney. No. If you're gonna go see the movie, it's George Clooney will make it watchable. Don't go see Tomorrowland. But this movie, I mean Jurassic Park 3. Sam Neill made it watchable, but other than that, it was a pretty bad movie. Very bad movie. Like, this movie, though, was much better than that movie. This movie was on par or better than the second movie. It was, in terms of action, in terms of story, in terms of the movement of it, but, I mean, one thing after another. It was like watching Chernobyl in real life. Here's the thing, and I've done research papers on this for college. Chernobyl, you know, the accident back in the 80s, in 80s, yeah, in Chernobyl, where the power plant went critical. They've actually identified and recorded the steps where the chain of events where all you had to do was break the chain, break a link in that chain, and that would have stopped the disaster at the end. Instead, they just kept going. One thing after another, and they saw the warning signs, they said this is not good, you know, this is out of the range of what should be happening. One thing after another, they just did one screw up after another, which led to a disaster. And that's what happened in this movie. And unlike, I don't know if there was a guy in Chernobyl that was running around saying, you gotta stop this, we're gonna kill everybody. But we had one of those in this movie. We had Star-Lord running around like, we gotta stop this. You need to kill that thing now, or else everyone's gonna die. We are not gonna survive the night if you do not do this right now. So, this movie, I mean, I posted on Twitter, I'm like, that movie was hilarious. Because afterwards, I laughed. I'm like, that movie was great. That movie was hilarious. That movie was awesome. Was it a good movie? Hell no. It was fun. It was enjoyable. But it was not a good movie by any stretch. Oh my God. I'm going to point out there are so many plot holes, but let me go with this one. Aside from the fact that each instance where they could have done, where all they had to do was listen to Star-Lord, and they wouldn't have had these problems. Each instance that he says, you shouldn't do that, or you should do this, had they done that, we wouldn't have had this problem. In the movie, there are these two kids, which, by the way, there's this whole subplot about these two kids and their divorcing parents. They are the nephews of the person who runs the park, who is in the commercial. She's the girl in the white dress and blouse, and she's Gwen Stacy from the third Spider-Man movie. You know, the one where Peter Parker does a Saturday Night Fever strut down the sidewalk? Yeah, that's Spider-Man. But she was Gwen Stacy in that movie. So anyway, Gwen Stacy is the manager of the park of Jurassic World. And she has these two nephews, and the movie starts off with after the title screen and these eggs hatching, we go to Somewheresville, USA in December during Christmas. I don't know why any of that is important, but that happens. So they go there. So these two boys, one of high school age and one in like grade school, like sixth or fifth grade, they are packing up to go on a trip somewhere. The older brother, the first time we see him, he is hugging and making baby talk with his girlfriend. I love you. No, I love you. No, I love you. I'll miss you. Please text me. I don't want to forget what you look like. Oh, I'll text you every day. This kid is a freaking bastard for 75% of this movie. The older brother is such an asshole and such a jerk to the younger brother. But like to everybody in general, but specifically his younger brother. But I'm already getting pulled in by the subplot. So there are these two kids that are Gwen Stacy's nephews. And the one kid is a genius, like a certifiable genius evidently. The high schooler one is a jerk. And their parents are getting divorced. Why? Who the fuck cares? Who knows? I don't give a shit about what's happening to those people. I don't know why they gave so many details. And they're subtle details. That you learn about these kids in their dialogue. So I'll give it that much. That through the dialogue, instead of just exposition, they were able to give you details about these kids' lives. But at the same time, it's like, who cares? It'd be like in the first movie when Lex and Tim and Lex, when they showed up and you found out all this stuff about, it's very much the same thing, because in the first movie they're the grandkids of John Hammond, the founder and creator of the park. And we don't know anything about these kids other than that they're human and that they breathe air. And that was all we needed. The girl is getting to that age where she's starting to notice boys. And so she's kind of got she seems to have a little bit of a crush on Grant. Or starts, how girls make eyes. And the boy, this little twerp, it's just hero worship. He's kind of a nerd, but he's not super smart. He's just a fan. He's like, oh, I love your book, man. It's great. And I know dinosaurs too. We don't know anything about these kids. They're just kids. They're there visiting their grandfather's park. I think it's their grandfather. Their grandfather's park. And, it's cool and everything. We don't have any of their backstory. We don't even know if their parents are alive. We don't even know if they have parents. And it doesn't matter. No one cares. We're just, interested to see if they're going to survive. In this movie, there's this whole subplot. No one cares. All the stuff that you learn from them, I couldn't give two shits about. Moving on. They are the dumbest, or the young one is not so dumb. And in fact, he's like the voice of reason. He's like, should we go into this restricted area? And the older brother's like, yeah, totally. Oh, we just got a notification that this particular ride, they're in the hamster ball driving around. And he's like, should we go back? And the older brother's like, nah, let's keep going. Oh, there's a fence in a restricted area. Let's go off-road. Just one bad choice after another. So, yeah, there's that. At one point, they start conversing about like their parents and that they're going to get a divorce. And the entire time, the brother's like, yeah, well, suck it up. You know, so what? Who cares? You know, you're going to cry about it? Screw you. Meanwhile, this kid, this older brother, every time there's a female on screen, other than his aunt and her assistant, he's constantly making eyes. Constantly. I mean, wow. You look like a dirtbag. I mean, they could not make this guy any more of a dirtbag. I mean, he turns it around at the end where, like, you know, in the face of danger, he does, you know, he protects his little brother. So that's good. I guess there's a little bit of redemption there. Oh, man. Moving on. Like, I just didn't get why those kids were, like, you can have kids there, fine, that's fine. I don't give a shit about their backstory. It doesn't matter. We don't care about that. Now, Gwen Stacy, there's like three people of power. There's Gwen Stacy, who runs the park. There's this Indian guy, Hanamadajad, or something, who, he's like, his name is on the lease for the island. Like, John Hammond gave him the park and gave him this project, signed everything over to him before he died. She's managing the park. He owns the park. And everybody in this movie, just the security guards, Gwen Stacy, Star-Lord evidently is this guy from the Navy who, I don't know why he's good at training velociraptors. I guess that's standard Navy training. You can train wild, prehistoric, extinct animals, I guess. They never really explained that. It would have made more sense if like, I think there was some backstory for the character of Muldoon, the guy who gets eaten by the raptors in the first movie, where they kind of go into his back, like, oh yeah, he's lived, or no, Ellie Sattler, the love interest for Grant. They go on to no, I'm thinking about a different movie. Nope, wrong movie. I was thinking about Julianne Moore in the second movie. But bottom line is, it makes sense with, that's who I wanted to talk about, Julianne Moore's character from the second movie, where John Hammond is explaining to Jeff Goldblum that, don't worry, she knows what she's doing. She's out in the wild. She's done this before. She's done it on the Serengeti with lions. You've got this backstory, like, really, you know, you've really encompassed and summarized her skills by just saying, oh, she's got training, and giving examples of it. This, Star-Lord was in the Navy, and that's fine, but why are you good at training raptors? You know, have you ever been to Australia or Africa or where there are, you know, or Asia where there's wild tigers and animals that are running around, and have you trained them? They never really explained why he knows how to do that. But anyway, like I said, everything he suggests to him, he's like, you shouldn't do this. Those velociraptors, they're like, one of the kids is like, hey, are they safe? And he's like, no, they're raptors. Are you kidding me? They'll eat your face. And then the rest of you. Hopefully in that order. But he's on the island. He's for some reason on this island. He trains raptors, and that's good to be able to train them. Though that being said, side note, and maybe this was just me, but the raptors in all three movies, all the three preceding movies, you were scared of them. You were terrified. They were the most efficient killing things on that island, despite the fact that velociraptors don't really look like that. The creatures that they use in the movie is more based on a species called Deinonychus. But anyway, semantics. That's my own nerd and my own, you know, dinosaur-loving kid coming out. is I get, they kind of took the fangs out of the snake. They took the claws out of the cat. Like right away, you're like, you know what? Those terrifying things that like moved like specters and ninjas and just like ended you and just, I mean, Solid Snake doesn't get as much kills as raptors do. And they were terrifying in all three of those movies. That was always like, you were scared of raptors because they could be anywhere and they're going to F you up and just end your ass. This movie, they're trained. I mean, they're still dinosaurs. And they'll eat your face. And they do that. But they're trained. Anyway. Where was I going with that? Let me get back to the whole thing about plot holes. The example that I was going to give... Oh, I was talking about the kids. Okay. So you've got these two kids, and like I said, they actually go off-road away from the safe area because the older one's a fucking idiot. And they find, while being chased by the Indominus Rex, they actually get to the old visitor center from the first movie that was left abandoned. And there are about 100 things in that entire sequence that I'm just yelling at the screen, what the hell? My friend's fiance was pointing out, like, what about this and this and this and this? They get to the old visitor center. Kid picks up a dinosaur bone and like wraps part of the banner from the first movie, which I didn't know banners like that lasted 23 years. And he lights it up like a torch. I didn't know decomposing plastic burnt like wool or cotton. Not only that, but the other kid's carrying around matches. He's like, "Did you still have those matches from before?" There was no before! He's just like... At one point he mentions he has like a fanny pack. And he reaches in and then later he's like, "Hey, did you still have those matches from before?" First of all, why does he have a fanny pack? Secondly, what's in the fanny pack? Thirdly, when was there before? We never established what was in the fanny pack. And he's like, "Yeah, pull out those matches. We need those." Thing almost gets him killed later in the movie. But so they're looking for a way to get back to the main part, to the resort part of the island, where people are, away from this running around dinosaur that's eating people. I mean, this thing like picks up people and bites into them like a Snickers bar, by the dozens. He just murders people. Anyway, they go to the garage in the old visitor center, and there are these gas-powered Jeeps. They get one of them working, and they drive back to the lodge. There are so many questions I have, and that my friend's fiance had. So you have this Jeep, which has been sitting there for nearly a quarter of a century, untouched in terms of movement and care and repair and maintenance, but open to the elements and time. So the one thing that, like, they find a broken like a broken gator or a broken SUV, like a dune buggy that somebody was in and then got eaten. They go back to the dune buggy, they take the battery out, and they put it in the Jeep, and they drive away. So many questions. So much bullshit in that scene. So what you're telling me is that the tires, the belts, the hoses, all of them are fine after 23 years. None of them have rotted. None of them have fallen apart. The rubber in the tires, the tires are not flat because, of course, air doesn't escape from aging tires in 23 years. They're not flat. The hoses still, everything flows through them. The belts still work. The battery, just some random battery, because as we all know, all car batteries and all batteries are compatible with all cars. The gasoline, the oil, the coolant, water has seeped into none of them. Not only that, but they haven't lost any of their potency or their viscosity. This is a perfectly fine working vehicle. All we needed was a new battery. Not only that, but it's a manual transmission. And they jump in And the little brother says to the older brother, hey, didn't you fail your driver's test? And he's like, yeah, but only the driving part. That being said, I know how to drive manuals. I know how to drive a stick shift. Do you know anyone that can drive a stick shift? Let alone a 13 or 14-year-old? Are you kidding me? I know how to drive stick, but that's because I'm a truck driver. I have to know how to do that, and they trained me to do that. This kid just, manual transmission. Got it. Fuck you. Not only that, but at this point in the movie, Star-Lord and Gwen Stacy are following them, and on foot, and they, like, the kids pull out from the, and just drive, and start driving. 10 seconds later, the two of them run up and like, what was that? And they're like, it looks like they got a Jeep working. And Star-Lord right away, how the hell did he get that working? And Gwen's like, well, it doesn't matter. That road goes straight back to the resort. And they're like, all right, let's go. But here's the thing. The Indominus Rex is right there. So there's a few minutes where we're just sitting there hiding, and then we're running, and there's this whole sequence with the aviary and flying dinosaurs, and then they start running back, and then, you know, at that point, now they can finally head back to the resort. After doing all these side things, after running from a dinosaur, after watching a lot of stuff happen, then they turn back and run back to the lodge, to the resort. And get this, the Jeep on the road that goes straight back to the resort, and they're going like 40, 50 miles an hour in this Jeep. Somehow, these two people on foot who got a late start heading back, they make it back to the resort before the Jeep that goes in a straight line driving 50 miles an hour. Ah! Huge, glaring plot holes like that. Just amazingly bad. But that's all I'm going to say about the plot holes. There's plenty more, but that was like the biggest one to me, is somehow they got this Jeep working, and then the two adults on foot made it back before the kids in the Jeep. So, and that's one reason why I'm like, this movie is hilarious. This movie is great. I'm getting so much entertainment. I'm getting so much mileage out of this movie, and I'm so entertained by the insanity. Believe it or not, that wasn't as big WTF as early on in the movie. Gwen is talking to the investors about, it's like money, attendance is down a little bit, and people aren't as impressed with the whole dinosaur thing. Later on, when she's showing the Indominus Rex to Star-Lord, he's like, what's not impressive? It's a dinosaur. Right? She implies that people are bored of living dinosaurs. That you look at and she even uses the example, people look at a stegosaurus and go, yeah. What? Really? Yeah, they look at it like they would an elf in the zoo. Who would do that? Who looks at a dinosaur and just goes, eh. And so that's why they made the Indominus Rex, is because people are bored of dinosaurs. We need to make one that can fly like Superman and shoot lasers out of its eyes, and also do the Gangnam Style dance. That's what we need, evidently, for dinosaurs, because people don't care about Apatosaurus and Brachiosaurus and Deinonychus and Dilophosaurus and Gallimimus and Stegosaurus and Dimetrodon and Ankylosaurus. By the way, I'm just rolling off these names in the movie. I'm like, Ankylosaurus! And the kid's like, yeah, it's an Ankylosaurus. I'm like, boom! I'm a little hyped about this movie. Anyway. So this movie was really fun. Though, can't say it'll be like that for Gwen Stacy. Here's something I thought about immediately after the movie. When the last scene that you see with the people, Gwen Stacy and Star-Lord and the survivors, because They say there's like 20,000 people. First of all, it looked nothing close to 20,000. I know what 20,000 people looks like. I've been to baseball games and I've been to Otakon, where the average attendance at Otakon is like 25,000 people. And if you've ever been there, it's at the Baltimore. It's for many years. It's been at the Baltimore Convention Center in the Inner Harbor, Baltimore. And that building is like 2 city blocks big, like 3 or 4 or 5 levels, and it still feels crowded in there because there's just that many people. This movie, this didn't look nearly like 20,000 people. And you know what? You people who made movies, you have no excuse for that. This isn't like the 1970s, 70s, 60s. This isn't like when they filmed Ben-Hur, when you needed a stadium, and to make the stadium look full with 20,000 people, you actually needed to have 20,000 people in the stands to make it look like 20,000, because we didn't have computer graphics. Now, you don't need anybody there, especially a huge crowd scene from far away where all you're seeing is like pixelated color, basically. You couldn't, in the wide shots, you couldn't animate in like 10,000 more people, because that did not look remotely like 20,000 people. That looked like 3,000, maybe. Beside the point. A lot of people got eaten. And I'm not just talking about park employees. At the end of the movie, the survivors get back to the mainland, and Gwen turns to Star-Lord, who evidently they had a date, and now they're back on because, you know, that's what happens when you save somebody's life from dinosaurs. You get horny. But so they're back together, and she's like, well, what do we do now? And he's like, survive. She's going to jail for a long, long time. She's going to jail forever. People died, and by people I mean civilians. There were a lot of private security, company security, mercs, park employees, plenty of people that are under contract and knew what they were getting into and received training and hazard pay that got eaten. That's not the issue. There were plenty of civilians that became dead in this movie. Tons of people. I mean, I've seen World War II movies that had a lower body count than in this movie. All the 3 movies before this, plus all the Friday the 13th movies before this, had a smaller combined that, had a smaller body count than this movie. My God, people died in the droves. I mean, this is a massacre. She's going to jail forever. Because she was the one in charge of that park. The guy who owns the park, he dies. Spoiler alert, he dies. She's now in charge, but even then, she's in charge of the park. She's not the CEO, but, you know, this is gross negligence. This is gross negligence on a huge scale. People got eaten and they died, and there's no hush money. Like, in the first movie, 4 people died. Sam Jackson, Muldoon, the lawyer, Dennis Nedry. 4 people died in that whole movie. And all of them, except for the lawyer, were employees of the park. So, you know, we're paying out wrongful death lawsuits and, you know, unemployment. But you know, you settle it out of court, basically. You know, that's not a problem. 4 people died, and Dennis Nedry probably didn't have anybody. He probably didn't have any family, direct family, so it's like, who cares? Second movie, the person in charge of Engine at the time, which would be John Hammond's nephew, he gets eaten by a baby T-Rex. So, you know, that's one reason why there was no lawsuit there, because the guy that you were going to sue, he's dead. He was eaten. And besides, I don't know how many people. As far as we know, only the screenwriter got eaten in San Diego. I'm not kidding. You know the guy who's running around, who tries to run inside the Blockbuster while the T-Rex is running down the street, and he gets eaten by the Rex? That was actually the screenwriter. David Cope, I think his name is. But anyway. And then in the third movie, those people probably went to jail. William H. Macy and his wife most likely went to jail because they were illegally trespassing on a quarantined island. They had no business being there, like no rightful business being there. It's just another movie where it's just stupid decision after stupid decision after stupid decision. You endangered people's lives. You know, the only other people who died were like mercs. No one cares when they die. At least not in that movie. But really, they probably went to jail because you were trespassing on a quarantine island. In this one, the manager of the island were civilians. Again, the people who were trespassing on Island 2 in the third movie, you shouldn't have been there. If you died, we don't care. That's your own damn fault. It's quarantine. Everyone knows this. But other people, these are civilians at a amusement park that you are responsible for them. My God, Injun is gonna fold. Like, they set this up for another movie. They set this up, leaving it open for a sequel to this movie. I don't know how. That company's gonna have no money. That company's not gonna exist. That entire company is gonna be held as a war criminal. Like, that entity, it's... Wow. There's no coming back from that. Yeah. So that happens in the movie. Oh, man. I'm glad, but despite all that, I still enjoyed the movie. I thought it was hilarious. It was fun. It was fun that I was able to watch it with people who saw the plot holes as I did. Like, I'm in tune to plot holes. Very, very in tune to them. And I think outside the box, and I question things that most people... Not to say that I can't enjoy a movie. Hell, talking about this review, I think it's pretty obvious. I really enjoyed the movie. I was able to review it and see all the inconsistencies in it, but I still enjoy it, especially for what it is. Again, I'm not arguing about the DNA splicing. I'm arguing about the fact that a Jeep traveling at 50 miles an hour somehow could not outrace two people on foot who were being distracted. Stuff like that. So, go see this movie. I really recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the original Jurassic Park, specifically the first one from '93. If you're a fan of that, check it out. You'll get a kick, if nothing else. Other than that, I'll see you guys next week. I'm going to be seeing Inside Out with my friend, so I'll have that review up next week as well. And if the Space Gods are kind, you'll see the X-Men review before that. I know I kind of dropped off the face of the planet for about 6 months there. I had some stuff to deal with, depression being one of them, which is a serious thing. I should be good now, and I'm starting to get momentum going again. So, yeah. Don't worry, I'm coming back. I'm back. I'm coming back. But, yeah, that's where I've been, and I'll talk more about it later. You know, I haven't really been answering anybody on YouTube, but I'm gonna get, I'm getting back into it. I'm kind of pulling out of where I've been, I'm getting past what I've been dealing with for the last 6 months. So, I'm getting back into the game. Anyway, check out Jurassic World. I think you'll like it. See you guys next week for Inside Out.